Okay, let's start with the invocation to Bhagavad Gita. It's in the introduction. If you'd like to recite along, great. Otherwise, just follow along by looking at it. If not, just hear those mantras. We seek the blessings of the gurus, the great acharyas, Lord Chaitanya's associates, Lord Krishna, Radharani, and all the Vaishnavas. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you. Welcome all of you, and thank you for having me here in your Philosophy Friday discussions. I appreciate the welcome Ajita has given. Um, I myself am a student of the Bhagavad Gita, and this is a book I've been studying for 22 years now. And I cannot claim to say that I know it, but I can claim to say that I'm learning better. And the reason being that Bhagavad Gita is a very dynamic book. Harry Potter novel or Jeffrey Archer's very scintillating um, conspiracy and spy novel, all of these novels are considered static. The story is the same, nothing changes. You don't get new insights from it except some details. But Bhagavad Gita is a dynamic book, and that is why it is some book that we touch our head to and not to a Harry Potter, for example. And the reason being, dynamic means the Bhagavad Gita that was spoken 5,000 years ago, specifically the we understand it to be. Actually, it's older than that. Since 5,000 years, millions and millions of sages and great personalities who have meditated for thousands of years, lived very strictly, being celibate, all of that, and still for them, the entire meaning of Bhagavad Gita is still unfolding. That's one. Second, for each one of us, depending upon what situation of life we are dealing with, the Bhagavad Gita will give us some means of feeling an anchor, feeling the floor under our feet. Other books cannot do it. And this is why spiritual book versus material book makes that distinction, is different. So to summarize chapter 5, we have to step back and see it in the context of chapters 3 and 4 as well. And before I do that, I want to tell you a quick story. There was a village, and the mayor of the village was getting complaints every day.
Ashwin, your mic is mute.
Okay. So the mayor of the village invited all of the village members to write their problem on a card and bring it to the village square. And they all met on a particular day, and he asked them to paste it on a particular wall. So everybody posted their problems on that wall. So let's say the village had 200 people. There were 200 problems posted on the wall. And so everyone started looking at all the problems that were posted and said, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I never thought that's a problem. Oh, look at this person's problem. Look at that problem. And it was really nice to see everyone's problems. And then they all turned and started to go home. So the mayor said, hold on, where's everybody going? We're not done yet. Now that you see all the 200 problems on this wall, I want you to take one sheet or one card of any problem that you will deal with. That is how we will solve this. Everyone takes one problem back home. Which one do you want? So earlier, everyone saw it in a very humorous way, in an enjoyable way. But now that they have to take a problem home with them, they became more serious. And they started looking at it. Okay, which problem should I want? Which problem? Which problem? And it happened that everyone took their own problem back home. And the point of the lesson is everybody, you, me, this one, that one, everybody in the world has their problems. And the idea is we think that living peacefully means living free of problems. And that is the first misconception that the Bhagavad Gita breaks. Living in this world does not mean living free of problems. Living in this world means living in a way that the problems don't disturb us. And that is the art that Bhagavad Gita teaches us. So to get to that point, let's step back to chapter 3. Srila Prabhupada titles chapter 3 as Karma Yoga, and chapter 5 also as Karma Yoga, but action in Krishna consciousness. Vyasadeva calls chapter 3 Karma Yoga and chapter 5 Sannyasa Yoga. Now, the idea is both of them are Karma Yoga, but they are distinct. They're distinct in this way. Both are Karma Yoga. So let's look at a parallel with mathematics. Okay. Let's take calculus. In calculus, there are students who are just beginning to learn the meaning of calculus. Pre-calc. In America, we call it pre-calc. Pre-calc is where you learn what limits are, etc. That is also calculus. And then advanced calculus is where you're learning differential equations, for example. Both are calculus. Or take chemistry, take biology, engineering, whatever you like. Physics, I'm just using calculus as a way. Now, a person who enters first year of college is also studying engineering, and the person who's in the last year of college is also studying engineering, right? Both are engineering students, both are calculus students, but there is a distinction or a difference. The difference is those who are in advanced classes have something that those who are in the beginning classes don't have. And what they have is knowledge. And therefore, between chapter 5 and chapter 3 is chapter 4 called knowledge, transcendental knowledge. So for Karma Yoga to become successful, or for a Karma Yogi to become successful, he or she needs knowledge and needs transcendental knowledge. We call it jnana. That transcendental knowledge in chapter 4, Krishna says, has different ways of or dimensions to it. One, it should come in a disciplic succession. Second, it must be learned from a teacher, a guru. And to learn from the guru, one has to do certain things. And from that knowledge, you get some outcomes. It removes the blockages in our consciousness so the knowledge can flow freely. So this way, between 3 and 5, there is chapter 4 of knowledge. Now, for a person who has transcendental knowledge, they are advanced. And the advancement has symptoms. Just like a disease has symptoms, and a body that is free of disease also has symptoms, right? And we diagnose the disease from the symptoms. We diagnose good health from its symptoms, that I have no pain, I have no fatigue, etc. So we say, oh, these are signs of good health. So in chapter 5, Krishna is summarizing for Arjuna what are the symptoms of an advanced person in Karma Yoga. But for that to get there, let's start at the beginning of the chapter. Krishna is somehow telling Arjuna that one has to live by the principles of sannyas. And Arjuna is thinking, oh, sannyas, I should give up what I am doing. And this is the problem that most people, especially in India, and not just people like you or I, young people, but let's say the generation of our parents, they are very concerned that the moment you study Bhagavad Gita, you will leave everything and, for men, shave your heads or become a sannyasi. That is their fear. And this is exactly Arjuna's concern also. Krishna, you're talking about sannyas. So I'm also saying the same thing, that I should leave the battlefield and run away, go away, because that is sannyas. And Krishna is saying, I don't think so. Sannyas is a state of one's being. It's a state of one's consciousness. And externally, one needs to continue and do what they are doing in the world. Being an engineer, being a doctor, being a mother, father, teacher, whatever, entrepreneur, whoever. Sannyas is not withdrawing from action, but sannyas means withdrawing of attachment to action. They're not the same. They sound similar, but they're not the same. But that little thing is what is keeping Arjuna in a confused state. Because Arjuna is hearing sannyas means to give up action, give up activities. And Krishna is saying, no, no, no. Sannyas means giving up the attachment to that work giving up the attachment to the fruit of that work, and giving up the attachment to this material world. But it does not mean that you leave. Arjuna is thinking leave, Krishna is saying how to live, not to leave. I hope that the distinction is clear, because that's Arjuna's confusion. So for sannyas to happen, there needs to be certain pieces of awareness. So this chapter has 4 sections. Okay. First section, if you take from verses 1 through 12, is Arjuna's question about what is sannyas, what is Krishna speaking about, and Krishna's answers to specifically what I just said. Sannyas means how to live without attachment and not to leave the activity. So from 1 to 12 is this conversation. From 13 to 16, in 4 verses, Krishna describes that actually in this world, we may think that we are doing things, but there are 3 doers. Okay. From 17 to 26, Krishna describes the consciousness of an advanced person, how they see the world with what is called equal vision. And finally, in text 29, from 27 to 29, he's dealing with peace. What does peace really mean? So I'm going to tell you another story, and I'm going to give insight into that story at the end. So meanwhile, I'll keep the suspense going. Okay. There was once a king who wanted to understand the meaning of peace. And he wanted that meaning to be drawn in a picture. So he announced to his kingdom that I'm inviting all the different artists to come and draw a picture of peace for me, Shanti. And he gave them a deadline. In 1 month, I want all the paintings to be exhibited or put together. I will look and judge which is the best one. So the artists got busy. 1 month happened. And then the king came and he saw thousands of paintings and pictures, and artists' depiction of peace was exhibited on the walls. So he looked at some of them. One showed the early morning sunrise. That was very peaceful. Another picture showed a very placid lake with trees and birds flying in the air, and as if cool breezes were there. That's peaceful. Another painting showed the night sky with full of stars, where everyone has gone to bed, no activity happening. That is peaceful. Great. So pretty much all pictures were something to do with nature, something to do with these kinds of things. Out there in the corner, there was one picture of a storm. The whole canvas was black. And so he went to see carefully, and he saw that the artist had drawn a picture of a storm, or a cyclone, as we call in India. And there were very gusty winds. The trees were being blown away and bent by the air, or the gust of wind, and roofs of houses were flowing away, and the river was swollen, the ocean was swollen. And in the far right corner of the picture, there was one tree that was being swayed by the wind, and on that tree, there was on the branch a nest of birds. And a mother bird had her wings opened, and under her wings were 2 tiny baby birds whose eyes were closed and they seemed very peaceful. And the king said, "This is the picture. I award this picture the best, and this shows what peace is." We'll come back and decode it later. So the first section, Krishna is saying that it is not giving up action. So the second section then is about the doers. Now, let's say I want to pick up my cup. Now I think that I'm the doer. I'm picking up this cup. I'm taking a sip of water. Who did this action? And I might say, I did it. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita says that, or Krishna is speaking, that actually there's not one, but there are three doers. And here is how the three doers are acting in everything that we do. The first doer is me, the Atma or the soul. I have a desire. My desire is that I'm thirsty. I want to drink water. Okay, that's all I can do. I can desire. Now, for me to be able to fulfill that desire, I need to move my hand, pick up my mug, bring it to my mouth, and actually sip the water. But for all of this to happen, the Paramatma sitting in the heart has to sanction that action. He has to give an approval. Yes, go ahead. Without that approval, I cannot move my hand, I cannot pick up the cup, etc. So the Paramatma is the second doer, he sanctions. And Prakriti, the material energy, is the third doer. She facilitates. So once the approval comes, I can, with this material body, which is made of Prakriti, pick up this cup, which is made of Prakriti, and drink this water, which is Prakriti. So in all our actions, there are three doers. Then the question is, but why do I get the karma? Why not super soul and why not material energy? Why am I suffering? Why do I get punishments? Why do I get rewards from material world? And the answer is because I am wrongly thinking that I am the only doer. In chapter 3, remember, it's the beginner's guide to karma yoga. Krishna says, ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. A person becomes overtaken by ahankara, ego, and thinks, I am the doer. But actually, I am not the doer only. I have other doers also. And when I recognize that Paramatma is to approve, Prakriti also has to facilitate, then I become humble. That, oh, Paramatma, without your sanction, I cannot do this. Oh, Prakriti, without your facilitating, I cannot do this. So my responsibility or my taking the credit, more importantly, I don't take the entire credit. I only share a small part of the credit. That is advanced knowledge. And this is important because we are living through life. Every day we're doing certain things. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that from morning till night. And perhaps concerned or confused, why am I getting all the problems? And then something good happens, that also we want everything. So a conditioned person like us in this material world has the sense of doership, that I'm the doer, I'm doing everything, and it has two sides. The one side says, I am the one who's controlling everything. Hey, I want to drink water. I am picking up the cup. I am sipping the water. I am the controller. I control my destiny. I control everything around me. And second, I am the enjoyer. When I drink water, I enjoy. When I eat something, I enjoy. When I wear some clothes, I enjoy this. When I smell, when I hear what I'm enjoying. So then when I think I'm the only controller and I'm the only enjoyer, then all of karma's reactions only come to me. But a person who thinks that I am not the only doer, Krishna is sanctioning, Prakriti is facilitating, then karma, the reaction that I get becomes smaller or softer. And the more advanced I become, it stops. Okay. Then the third section is about equal vision. As my knowledge is increasing, there are some symptoms. And the symptom Krishna talks about is of equal vision. It's a beautiful verse. It's the 18th verse. Actually, I want to, before I go to 18th verse, in terms of this doership, verse number 15. Actually, sorry, verse number, sorry. Sorry, I'm suddenly lost my train of thought. Verse number 13. In verse number 13, 14 and 15, these three verses, Krishna is explaining what is the consciousness of an advanced person. And the person is with this understanding that, hey, I'm not the only doer in this world, and therefore I am dependent on Krishna and I'm dependent on Prakriti, the facility Krishna has given me through this body. And then in the next section, when this knowledge gets advanced, then Krishna says that a person who has advanced knowledge is called Pandita. Generally in India, if someone wears tilak and has Sika, they say Panditji. Panditji is not because of tilak and Sika. Pandita means someone who is fully illuminated or completely white in the heart out of knowledge. That is why the word Panda comes, the derivative of it is Pandu, who was very pale or white. And his son is called Pandava. So Pandita means one who is enlightened with light and with knowledge. What is the symptom? Krishna says Pandita means, and how do you know, is not that they have knowledge, but their knowledge has the other side, which is called Vinaya. Somebody who has knowledge can become very arrogant. They become very powerful and they exploit others. But genuine spiritual knowledge makes a person or should make a person humble. So Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. One who has Vidya should also have Vinaya. Actual knowledge, actual Vidya means Vinaya. And one who has so-called knowledge and no Vinaya is not a Pandita. Okay, with this Vidya and Vinaya, this Pandita, what is his or her view of the world? He says, Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Samadar, he sees everyone equally. Now, this seeing everyone equally is sometimes misunderstood. Okay. So, first of all, let's take what does equally mean. Equally means he sees that in the Brahmana, in the cow, In the elephant, in the dog, and the dog eater, there is Atma. He does not see the distinction of the body alone. He sees that there is Atma in all of them, and that is the Samadarshana. So he treats them with respect. That sometimes we see certain people as my friends and some people as my enemies. We think these kinds of people are better, those kinds of people are worse. I can offer respects to a cow, but I will eat chicken. Or I may show respect to my dog as my pet, and it's sleeping on the same bed with me, licking my face, eating out of my plate, but I will kill a chicken, I will kill a fish or some other animal because I'm hungry to eat. This is out of a lack of equal vision. Just as there is a soul in this body, there's a soul in that body also. So to see the soul is equal vision. That's one. Now one may say, oh, if I see equality, should I treat them also equally? The answer is no. You treat them according to their position. So when you see your child or your friend or your girlfriend or boyfriend, you may go and give them a hug. But when you see a tiger, it's not necessary that you have to run to the tiger and give them a hug. But you will see the soul in this one and say, from far is okay. In my friend, there is Atma. In my enemy also, there is Atma. Can I see that? Maybe not, because I'm caught in seeing the externalities, the superficialities. Then another reason, this example Krishna gives about Brahmana Shvapaka. Brahmana is a very pure person. Shvapaka means dog eater, means unclean habits, not advanced in one's consciousness. Culturally speaking, the Brahmana is the highest. And the Brahmana does not mean who's wearing a 25 paisa thread. Okay, that's not Brahmana. Brahmana means in character, not by birth, by character. Brahmana and Shvapaka. Culturally, Brahmana is the highest, the Shvapaka is the lowest. So a Pandita doesn't matter between this end of the continuum and that end of the continuum and everyone in between, he treats with respect. He or she treats with respect. Then he talks about elephant. Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shunicha. So elephant, cow, and dog. The elephant is a useful animal. The dog is a useless animal. And the cow is a holy animal. Now, useless doesn't mean, you know, it has no value. That's not the point. Dogs are great companions. I'm not an anti-dogger. Please don't think that way. My point is, from a spiritual perspective, a dog doesn't contribute. A dog contributes to emotional support for people, right? Other than that, I mean, it reciprocates, it wags its tail, it gives people a lot of happiness and companionship. But in terms of utility, as an elephant, for example, or a cow, dog's utility is different. I'm not saying it's useless, so don't get me on that one. It's a different utility. Even then, between this and everything in between, there is great respect. And so, a learned person appreciates and respects all living beings equally, and that is the Vinaya in him or her. That's the third section. And finally, in the fourth section of peace, Krishna describes that peace comes when a person understands that in this world The only person who's the enjoyer is Krishna. The only person who's the owner of everything is Krishna. And the only person who's the uh, recipient of the fruit of any tapasya is Krishna. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam. And the only friend, these three things, the only friend for everybody, doesn't matter what religion, what gender, what sexual orientation, what status of society, rich, poor, handicapped, not hand, it doesn't matter. Krishna is their ultimate friend. So Bhoktaram, he is the one who's the enjoyer. Generally, we think we are the enjoyers. And this is where the problem of suffering comes in. And I'll explain why we are not the enjoyers. And then he says, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the one who controls everything. I think I control my world. And that is my problem because I cannot control it, although I'm thinking that I'm controlling it. And Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the friend of all living beings. Gyatva, one who knows this, Shantim Richati, becomes peaceful. Now, let's go back to this word, enjoyer. So when I'm eating food, something really tasty, should I not enjoy the taste? If I'm listening to kirtan or some song, should I not enjoy it? If I'm looking at sunrise and sunset and a beautiful flower, should I not enjoy it? If the fragrance of mogra or jasmine, should I not enjoy it? Can I stop enjoying it? The answer is no. The enjoyment here does not mean that we cannot taste, we should not eat tasty food or wear nice clothes or hear nice music. That's not the point. The point is to think that in creation, all these things are there for me only. That there are wonderful vegetables in the world for me. God has created it for me. There is beautiful music of tala, raga, all for me to enjoy. The sunrise and sunset is for me to enjoy. That is the problem. Actually, everything is in creation is for Krishna or Vishnu to enjoy and for us to use them to deliver them to Vishnu. That is our role. And when he accepts it and gives it to us, then we enjoy. That's the distinction. We think it's there for me to enjoy without Krishna enjoying it first. It's like having a cook in the house. Okay. Suppose, and in India, most people have a cook in the house. And your cook comes to your house and you tell them, Aaj aloo paratha bana do. And he or she makes aloo paratha. Very nice aloo paratha with a slab of butter on it and nice chutney with it. And the cook, after cooking it, making the paratha, puts it on a plate and eats it first. And you will look at it and say, hey, what's going on? I said to make it, it's for me. And the cook says, no, it's here. I made it, so I'm eating it. Obviously, you'll fire the cook. But first, it's offered to you, you eat it, and then you say to the cook, ab bhi kha lo. Then they can also enjoy the paratha. Similarly, a cook cannot say, I came into the house, there was the fridge, the potatoes were there, the spices were there, the fire, the gas stove was there. I found everything, I put it together, I ate it. No, it belongs to the owner of the house. So, who owns this house, the universe, Brahmanda? Lord Krishna owns the house. So, everything in the house is put together for the owner's enjoyment. That's what Krishna is saying. Okay, then who controls everything in the house? The owner of the house. And because we are working in his house, he is our best friend. If I know that, I become peaceful. And because Krishna is my friend, any problems that I may have, Krishna will take care. He will help me find a solution. Now, it does not mean I just sit and relax and Krishna is my servant. He will take care of my job. No, Krishna will give me the intelligence. He will give me the facility. He will send someone, but I need to do my part. So, back to that uh, story about the king looking at the painting of a mother bird with two babies under her wings, and the babies are completely peaceful because even in that storm, because they are under the wings of their mother, they're not afraid, they're peaceful. Now, that is reality. In this material world, everybody is experiencing a very, very major storm. Okay, right now the world is being eaten away by COVID. It's been very, very difficult. Feeling Krishna's shelter is the way to feel peaceful. But to fight, I'm not saying you should not fight COVID. That's not my point. If today it's COVID, yesterday it was something else, some years ago it was terrorism, today this, tomorrow something else. One after the other, this material world is full of problems. And our peace is not in necessarily fighting one thing after another. We should, but from the under the wings of Krishna, as the mother bird, if you will, being sheltered, finding shelter and protection under Krishna and his care is the way to look at and address our problems, not outside of it. Therefore, we use the word anatha. Generally, an orphaned child is called anatha. In Sanskrit, natha means master. Anatha means one who does not have such a master. And sanatha means one who has a master. In India, we see a lot of stray dogs. They're constantly running on the street, yelling at each other, barking, biting. They're all anatha. That's why they're called stray. But someone else may have a chocolate or a golden retriever or a black Labrador or a Pomeranian or a Shih Tzu, whatever dog, same species dog sits in a fancy car, eats at a fancy place, gets nice food, the comfort of a home, because that dog has a master, Sanatha. And therefore, stray dogs are always barking, yelling, biting, and the other dog who has a master happily walks. In fact, to such a degree that the master will pick up its stool in a plastic bag for him. The master is serving the dog. Krishna is happy to serve us if we take his shelter. Then we are not afraid of the stray dogs barking because there is a stick in the hand of the master to protect us. To know this, one becomes peaceful, and that is the advancement of knowledge that Krishna is speaking about in chapter 5. Therefore, an advanced person is not disturbed by what's going on. And in all activities, the verses are whether they are sleeping, whether they are awake, they're blinking their eyes, they're talking, they're drinking, they're eating, they're evacuating, whatever they're doing, they feel the connection with Krishna. They feel Krishna's shelter. And that is chapter 5. And in chapter 6, Krishna tells Arjuna the methodology of getting there through the process of yoga. So I want to stop here and see if there are any questions, comments, objections, whatever, contributions, some reflection. From your study, you have something wonderful insight that you want to share. Ajita, okay?
Thank you so much,
So
Bhavan.
far?
That was very nice. Okay, anybody has questions? Wow, this is never this quiet. Okay, Sai
I
with
think
that thing.
everyone is peaceful and probably asleep.
Anand is saying it's too clear, Prabhuji. Hmm. Okay. Sai has a question. He's saying, how can a common man serve God?
God is for common people only. And to serve God, Krishna gives a very simple starting point. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Uh, have a little sense of devotion in the heart and start with patram, pushpam, a leaf, a flower, little water, or a fruit. Now, interestingly, Krishna does not say many fruits, lot of water, many leaves. He only says patram, single. He didn't say patrani. He says pushpam, not pushpani. Pushpani means many flowers. Just take one flower, one leaf, one tulsi leaf, and offer to Krishna and say, please accept my service. Start there. That any common Prabhupada writes in that purport, for a fruit and a flower and water, you don't need money, you don't need anything. It's available. All around us, it's available. Okay, next one.
So Partha Chaudhary is saying, just want to know cow's contribution in the spiritual world. In the spiritual, not the spiritual world, but Goloka, I guess he means to say, like in the spiritual context, what is cow's contribution? Why is cow special?
Right, right. Prabhuji, this is my questions like, how the cow's contributions, because if you're talking about that contribution in terms of milk, then his milk is for his own cow, not for the other world. That's what my question.
Okay. The cow is a very unique animal that she produces more milk than her calf needs. Always the case. Okay, so that's one. But more importantly, our Vedic system is a system of yajna. In the third chapter, Krishna says he has designed the system where we as human beings on planet Earth need certain facility to enjoy or live in this world. We need food, right? Anna. Now, food does not grow without rain, parjanya. And rain will not come down without Indra and all the other devatas allowing for it to come down. So, what is the method for rain to come down? He says that the human beings must perform yajna. Yajna means from whatever you get, some share belongs to the person who's giving it. Like we call it taxes, right? You earn an income, and from what you earn, you give it to the government. What does the government do? It creates jobs. So you can earn, but you give tax. You earn, you give tax. That way, you are benefiting, and others are also benefiting. Just a very simple governance system. In the universe, there is such a governance system. You cannot get rain unless you pay your taxes. For you to pay taxes, you have to perform yajna. Now, to perform yajna, you have to offer the grain that you got. For that, you have to also pour ghee and say swaha. You cannot get ghee without yogurt or dahi. You cannot get dahi without milk. You cannot get milk without cow. You cannot offer dog milk, camel milk, goat milk and say swaha. Not accepted. Only the cow. Why? Because the cow and the bull help you in fertilizing the land and plowing the land. So the bull and cow help you to get your grain so that when you offer, You get rain and you get more grain. So I usually say funnily, from yagya, you get rain. From rain, you get grain. From grain, you get brain. From brain, you do more yagya. Otherwise, it's not going to work. That is the reason we have a cow. It's a special animal that Krishna has given us for this purpose, so we can perform Vedic yagyas. You cannot put camel milk, dog milk, cow milk, and say swaha. It's not. That is not the method.
Okay.
If when you have to pay your taxes, you have to send in cash electronically or actually. You cannot say, take my mouse. This is what I will give in tax. It has a value of something. Not accepted. Okay, Partha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for that nice answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome.
Vibhuti Mataji, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have typed my question, but I'll just say that when I am in the philosophy Friday class, I understand each and everything and I enjoy. But when I read Bhagavad Gita, I do not understand the meaning in that sense, which is explained in this class. So any clue or help that how do I read it and understand in a way that is explained in the class and the meaning actually?
Well, Krishna says that the Bhagavad Gita or topics about him are to be read with others. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Madchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayantascha Parasparam. Parasparam means to one another. So those who have me in their heart teach each other about me. They talk about me to each other. Bodhayantascha Parasparam. And from that, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam. They talk about me to each other. Tushyanticha Ramanticha. And that by that they become happy and satisfied. So study alone is a little difficult. Study with someone else is a lot easier. So to study Bhagavad Gita, we need Prabhupada's help. Prabhupada, unless you read the commentary, we may not extract everything. So that's one. Second, this is something people study for a long time and they get different or finer meanings. So when we do math in second grade or third grade, we may understand whole numbers, integers, that's it. But next grade, we may get fractions, then real numbers, imaginary numbers. So math unfolds as you go up in the school grade system. Similarly, take what you can and keep studying. You'll get more. Does that address your concern?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Also, Mataji wanted to ask, are you following the Bhagavad Gita as it is? The version of Bhagavad Gita that you have?
Yes, I have this written by Prabhupada. I got it from ISKCON temple.
Okay, all right, perfect. Yes, Yogesh Prabhu, you wanted to ask?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hope you're well. I have one clarification. Please correct my interpretation or understanding. So yes, there are different executors. So one if you are trying to perform an activity or some sort of karma, there are different executors. So I have a understanding that there are 5 executors, which is the Jivatma, Paramatma, Buddhi, Manas, and Indriyas. So is Prakriti condensed in is Buddhi, Manas, and Indriyas condensed into the Prakriti element? That is one question. The other question is, okay, then that clarifies my question then.
3 categories of doers, and then there are the specifics. The desire, the mind facilitates the desire to make the indriyas work. My hand has to reach my cup. but it is all made of Prakriti, different finer elements of Prakriti, but Prakriti as a third actor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Navneeta is asking, should we respect a person who intentionally disrespects us?
Depends on your realization. You cannot artificially do something. First of all. Second, you have to ask yourself, what do you want from that situation? If you want revenge, then slap back. If you want to feel free of that negative energy, then you have to do something else. You have to have a spiritual vision of it. So it depends what you want.
Krishna was saying, Dear Prabhuji Hare Krishna, as I learned that we are envious to Krishna and wanted to become the center of attraction in the spiritual world. So we came to this material world so that we can enjoy and lord it over. As you mentioned that this whole creation is meant for Krishna's enjoyment only and our job is to serve him. So how can I find the missing link between the two understandings, and would like to know whether I have the correct understanding? Thank you.
So we are not slaves that only Krishna enjoys, and we are sweating from morning till night, and he's sitting on a nice throne and enjoying. That is not the kind of master Krishna is. So for example, let's say you own a Rolls-Royce car, let's just say, and I'm your driver. Am I enjoying the car also along with you? Yeah. You're sitting in the back, I'm sitting in the front, but I'm also enjoying the car. Similarly, by serving Krishna, it's not that only he's the enjoyer, I'm also enjoying. If I make Rasgulla, I make Gulab Jamun, I make parathas, pizza, whatever, and I offer to Krishna, what does Krishna do? He looks at it and says, it's for you, take it. I also get to eat it. Now, if Krishna took it away and ate it, then I will cry. What is this? I don't have nothing. But Krishna is kind. He gives it back. So service does not mean suffering, please. Service means Krishna is the enjoyer first. There's an order of enjoyment. Krishna enjoys first, then we enjoy. That's what a servant is. You know, there's a picture we have, you know, in someone's house, they have a big screen TV, 75-inch TV, and you're watching cricket, let's say, India-Pakistan match or whatever, you're watching cricket. Your servant also sits there and watches the TV, right? Are they enjoying the cricket match as much as you are, perhaps more? Sure. Are they in your house looking at in a big screen TV? Yes. Similar. Principle is when Krishna enjoys, we enjoy. But if
sorry.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, I'm just taking it more and more, but I'll stop.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
No, you didn't interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. Another question is from Kaushal Agarwal. What is the difference between Prakriti and Paramatma? Doesn't Paramatma control Prakriti?
Correct. Prakriti is the energy of Paramatma. Paramatma controls the Prakriti, but Prakriti is not Paramatma. Prakriti means nature or Shakti and Shaktiman. Although they are very inseparably connected, they are not the same.
Bitan is asking, please accept my humble obeisances. Kindly give another example of peace. More specifically, mention a situation and talk about our act while taking shelter under Krishna.
Okay. In chapter 5, let's start there because we're studying chapter 5. There is a very, very beautiful verse, which should be a constant meditation for devotees in this who are studying this chapter. Okay, so it is text number 10. Okay, Krishna says, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padmapatram ivambhasa. The example or analogy is given by Krishna. We'll use his one because he's the best speaker. Padma patram iva ambhasa. Ambhasa means in water or by the water. Padma patram, the leaf of a lotus flower that is on water. If you notice, the leaf is on the surface of the water. And if you pour water on the leaf does not become wet because of surface tension. That's physics, but the water becomes globules and slides right out. So the lotus grows, if you know, lotus never grows in clean water. Lotus grows in muddy waters. That's why it's called pankaja. Panka means mud and ja means what it is born from. So this material world is muddy. We are meant to bloom like a lotus in it. And the water, the muddy water, when it comes in contact with us or we come in contact with it, we are not supposed to become wet. How is one going to live like that? The idea is we are not touched by it because we are not looking for what the muddy water can give us. We're looking for serving. That is why in that muddy water, the lotus stem comes up and the flower opens, not in the water. So while we are working every day, give me an example of what kind of work do you do? Are you a student or are you working?
He's a student. Bitan, are you
Okay.
here?
What?
Um,
Okay, let's take a student.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Bitan, we're a student, let's say. I'm studying something. My exams are going to come. Or I have an assignment that I have to finish, a project that is due. And whatever, I don't have the book, this thing, that thing, but I have to go get the book. I have to study it. I'm not enjoying it. It's a very tough course. But I have to go through the motions of studying and doing it. But internally, I am asking Krishna that I see what I'm studying in the grand context that I want to serve you. I want to live a life of service to you. Therefore, I'm studying. If I see this as I want to make money and enjoy the money, then it comes with the problems that money brings or lack of money brings. But if I see it in the context of serving Krishna, that whatever money I get, I can use it in service to you and service of other people, then the same suffering of studying begins to be a little bit more enjoyable.
Okay.
Next one.
Time has crossed. I'm sorry. It didn't
Okay.
And those of you, let me just quickly check if there's any other questions. Okay, so the person who asked that question, Prabhuji, about difference of Prakriti and Paramatma, he's also asking, is there any difference in the procedure of serving God at home and serving God like bhakts of any organization like ISKCON?
No. Service is service. The details, the intensity might look different because when you're serving at home, like for example, in a temple, Mangalarti happens at 4:30 in the morning. And there is a whole system, a team that makes sure that Mangalarti happens at 4:30. You may be working late. You may have a job that requires late hours. So you may not be able to do it 4:30. But the principle of worshiping God first thing in the morning, shower and worship, that's everywhere. So it's the principles that are important, not the details of it. Details are important, but without principle, details make no sense. So hold on to the principles.
Ragni Mati, this is peaceful and awesome session, Prabhuji. Thank
Wow, the chapter is about peace. So
you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and thank you everybody for joining. Very grateful to you, Prabhuji. It's very, very wonderful. Again, we'll see you
Thank
at
you.
the end of chapter 6.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Hare
Everyone have a wonderful rest of the week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.